We head now down under to Australia, where approvals for home loans unexpectedly fell for July. That is the biggest drop in nearly 5 months, highlighting some of the serious weakness in the economy down there. Some say it's also a sign of home ownership being unaffordable for most Australians. Hannah Belcher joins us now from Sydney for more. Hi Hannah, what's happening here?
Well, some parts of Australia, like inner Sydney, where I am right now, are actually experiencing, reasonable property growth. Many parts of Australia are still experiencing a period where property prices are flattening out. Property prices have dropped 0.6% so far this year. But the big property news out of Australia today is the property home loan approvals in the month of July fell 1%. Now, nearly 45,000 home loans were approved in the month of July. But if you compare that to November last year, when the government started cutting interest rates, they were at 2.7%. So economists say that people are losing their confidence in the Australian property market, and investors in particular very worried about the global economic slowdown and the slowdown in China, so they're not putting their money in property as much as they were in recent years. So you've got a situation here in Australia where would-be buyers are holding off, hoping that property prices continue to go down further. Spring has arrived in Australia, and so too has the busy real estate season. Here in Sydney's inner city suburbs, potential renters and buyers are starting their search for a home, and competition is hot. But for many first home buyers like Zoe Davis and her family, the great Australian dream of owning their own home is just that, a dream.
The amount of rent we pay at the moment, saying that it's 50% or more of our pay every week, it's very hard to save to buy a property, to have that initial deposit. So as much as I'd love to buy a house, I don't see how that's very feasible for our family at this point.
A recent University of Sydney poll found housing affordability was a serious issue for nearly half the respondents. It was up there with trying to solve climate change. An Australian government first home buyers grant doesn't even cover the government tax on a modest inner city home like this one. A coalition of welfare groups called Australians for Affordable Housing have released a report showing income spent on housing has increased 41% since 1984. Young couples are now faced with a choice between buying a house or starting a family. The report says investors are to blame for driving up prices.
A taxation system which supports investment, and many would say overinvestment in private property, private domestic property, all pushing towards that problem which is loading up house prices.
Housing experts like Bill Randolph say time is running out for the Australian government to address the looming housing affordability crisis.
In the next 20 or 30 years, I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to work out that there's going to be a significant growth of older folks in unaffordable private rental because we're not providing any affordable housing alternatives in Australia. That's where the crunch is going to be.
Real estate agents say current house prices are simply a reflection of what those in the market are expected to pay for the right location.
It's sort of what you know, and that's what our buyers know. They don't know any different, and that's what you pay for a house. And 30 to 40% of your salary is expected to go on a mortgage, and that's just what people do. They don't mind sort of getting in a lot of debt, and if they want to buy a house, that's what they have to do.
With signs that Australia's mining boom is winding down, there is speculation that property may follow suit. But for now, too many Australians remain shut out of the property market. And of course, that mining boom that is happening in Australia is in Western Australia, and of course they are still experiencing property growth there. So it's a wait-and-see property market here in Australia right now.
All right, Hannah, thank you very much for that report. Again, Hannah joining us from Sydney live.